Donald Trump has been under the pump for his lukewarm response to the coronavirus outbreak in the US. Now, the panic has hit one of his beloved talking points, the economy. So, to allay fears, the president made a prime-time address to the nation just a short while ago, and in an unprecedented move, he announced the suspension of all travel from Europe to the United States of America.
I have decided to take several strong but necessary actions to protect the health and well-being of all Americans. To keep new cases from entering our shores, we will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days. The new rules will go into effect Friday at midnight. These restrictions will be adjusted subject to conditions on the ground. There will be exemptions for Americans who have undergone appropriate screenings, and these prohibitions will not only apply to the tremendous amount of trade and cargo, but various other things as we get approval. Anything coming from Europe to the United States is what we are discussing. These restrictions will also not apply to the United Kingdom.
President Trump of the United States making an announcement from the Oval Office and now being joined by Nick Harper live from Washington, D.C. Nick, talk to us. A big announcement coming in from Trump. He has been under a lot of pressure, but do you think he's done enough?
Well, certainly, yeah, a very big announcement, choosing to have an Oval Office primetime address. These are the moments that are reserved for the most important, most serious moments in US history. It's only his second address from the Oval Office. Lots of criticism about how he's been slow to respond, how he's minimised and downplayed the virus, how he's contradicted his own health officials. Certainly some very bold moves from the president. 30 days of travel suspensions. Anything coming from Europe, not just holidaymakers and passengers on aeroplanes, but also trade. None of that will be entering the United States from Friday at midnight for the next 30 days. He's also laid out various economic measures that he hopes will stimulate the economy. Whether it's enough will need to be seen over the next coming days, but if we're looking at the instant reaction, already Wall Street doesn't seem that surprised or that pleased with what the president has announced. Futures trading on Wall Street has seen markets drop by 5% on the news. They're clearly not impressed with what the president has laid out.
Right, and even in this ban, the United Kingdom is not included, Nick. And United Kingdom is another place that's being accused of not taking enough precautions against the virus.
That's right, yes. Donald Trump saying that there would be exemptions. The United Kingdom is one of them, no longer being part of the European Union. There will be some other exemptions. Ireland is also exempt, and Americans who are in Europe will still be allowed, it would seem, to return to the US as long as they undergo screening. There are, of course, lots of questions already at play as to why the UK is exempt, and yet its neighbour France, just across the channel, some 20 miles away, is banned. There is, of course, the option for people in Europe to get on trains and to get on ferries to be able to go to the United Kingdom and to catch planes here to the US. So it does seem strange exactly how this will work. Criticism, yes, in the United Kingdom and in the United States as well. And we've been hearing from the top health officials around the world, the WHO, calling this a pandemic today and really urging governments to do all they can. They've said that there has been inaction in the past and now is the time to act. And one of the main health experts here in the United States, Anthony Fauci, who heads up one of the most prestigious health institutes here in the US, has warned during the course of the day that the situation will get much worse. He predicts potentially millions of people will become infected, and he is urging the government to act and to act quickly.
Nick Harper reporting live from Washington, D.C. Nick, also talk to us. The ban apart, how is the situation on the ground when it comes to the United States of America fighting this epidemic, taking cognizance of it and the entire, the veracity of it?
Yes, we've certainly seen an uptick in the amount of cases over the last couple of days. We're now up to about 1,200 cases, 37 deaths. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were near 15 deaths. The US President Donald Trump was predicting that within a couple of weeks, it would go down to zero. Obviously, that is not what we've seen in the US. It's not what we've seen across the world. There have been some stringent measures put in place on local and state levels. Lots of universities have already closed their doors, telling students to go home and to learn online. We haven't seen a wholesale approach to shutting schools, but we have seen a number of large-scale gatherings banned across several states. They are trying to do all they can, and especially in the state of New York, where we've seen a particular cluster just outside of New York City, more than 100 cases there in the town of New Rochelle. The National Guard have been sent there. There's been an exclusion zone of 1.6 kilometres put around part of the town. People are allowed still to move around, but they're really trying to contain it there. So lots of things are being done on a state and local level. Of course, the criticism that has been levelled at the government is that they're not doing anything on a national level. The hope is, of course, in the Trump administration that banning flights from Europe will stem the tide of new infections coming into the US, and by giving more money to try and bolster the economy will also kind of prop things up, make sure that we don't head towards a recession, to make sure that people continue to spend even if they can't get to work and even if they are quarantined at home.
Nick, before we let you go quickly, I was going to touch upon that point. The fact that this is hurting the economy seems to be the only reason why Trump decided to do something about it. Until now, he has been in sort of a denial about it, just like climate change.
Well, absolutely. That has been the big criticism that has been levelled at him, that he has continually minimised this virus. Remember, he is in an election year. In November, later this year, he has to fight for his political career, hoping to win another 4 years in the White House. And he is a president that has very much tied his reputation to the economy and to jobs data and to GDP. All of those type of things which are likely to have a massive knocked-on effect from this virus. We're already beginning to see that, and that, I think, is why Donald Trump is concerned. He's scared. He's not admitting that, but he realizes that he has to pump a whole lot of money into the economy to make sure that we don't head towards a recession. He's already managed to get $8.3 billion together emergency funding, but he's now suggesting that Congress releases $50 billion to be able to supply low-interest loans to small businesses to make sure that they stay afloat. He also wants to cut payroll taxes to make sure that people continue to spend, because he hopes that they will feel they have more money in their pockets. He is worried, and I think those measures that we're seeing him enact very much shows a president who is conscious that there's an election around the corner and he needs to make sure that the economy is thriving.
Nick Harper joining us with live reports and perspective from Washington, D.C. Thank you, Nick, for being with us here on the broadcast on WION World as well.